Hello, friends. Today we delve into a story of a family united by blood, but divided by silence. This is the tale of Alex and Maya, caught in a web of unresolved pain and unspoken truths. Behind their strained interactions lies a darkness that has haunted them for years. Watch closely. The living room was a kaleidoscope of memories and tension. Sunlight filtered through the sheer curtains, casting fragmented patterns on the hardwood floor, reminiscent of a broken mirror. Splintered reflections of a family once whole, now fractured by years of silence and unresolved hurt. Alex stood by the window, his hands shoved deep into his pockets, fingers curling around the cool metal of his keys. Each tick of the clock echoed in his mind, amplifying the weight of the moment he had yet to seize. Maya sat across the room, arms crossed, her posture a fortress against the vulnerability that hung heavy in the air. The remnants of their childhood decorated the walls, but the warmth of those memories felt distant, clouded by the shadows of unspoken grievances. Alex caught her eye, and the moment felt electric, charged with a pent-up frustration that threatened to spill over. "Why do you even care?" Maya's voice sliced through the silence, laced with skepticism. "You've never really understood, have you? You just want to act like everything's fine and move on." Her words struck like arrows, each one hitting a target he had tried to shield. Alex's heart raced, fear coiling tightly around his chest. He could feel his resolve waver, the urge to retreat rising within him. But beneath that fear, a flicker of desire ignited, a longing to mend the rift, to breathe life back into the hollow space between them. "I'm trying, Maya," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Trying to be honest." "Honest? You?" A bitter laugh escaped her lips, mirroring the disbelief etched on her face. "You think a few words are going to change anything? You think an apology can erase all the pain?" The weight of her cynicism pressed down on him, and for a fleeting moment, doubt crept in. Was he merely chasing an illusion? He glanced at the old family photo sitting on the mantel, its edges curling with age. All of them together, smiles frozen in time, oblivious to the fractures that would form. The image stirred something deep within him, a reminder of what was at stake. The air crackled with unspoken words, and Alex's resolve began to crystallize. "I know I've hurt you," he said slowly, choosing each word carefully, as if navigating a minefield. "I'm not here to pretend it didn't happen. I want to try to fix this." Maya's expression shifted, if only slightly. The walls around her heart seemed to quiver, though she quickly masked it with a defiant glare. "And what if I don't want your apology? What if it's too late?" His heart sank, the fear of rejection wrapping around him like a vice. But the broken mirror loomed large in his mind, reflecting not just their pain, but also the possibility of healing. A chance to confront the jagged edges that had cut them both. "I don't know," he admitted, his voice steadier now, tinged with desperation. "But I have to try. Can we at least talk about it?" Silence enveloped them, thick and suffocating. Yet it crackled with the tension of raw emotions. Alex felt the ground shift beneath him, the familiar landscape of fear morphing into something uncharted, a territory filled with the promise of vulnerability. He could feel his heart pounding, the anticipation of what lay ahead both thrilling and terrifying. As the seconds stretched into an eternity, he dared to hope that maybe, just maybe, they could find a way through the shadows. But the question hung in the air between them, heavy and unresolved. Could they overcome the fear and distrust that had built a wall between them? Or would the weight of past pain keep them forever apart? Alex stood in the quiet of his dimly lit living room, the weight of the world pressing down on his chest. A frayed letter, the edges worn and the ink slightly smudged, lay open on the coffee table. It was a handwritten apology he had crafted over the past week. Each word a struggle, an attempt to bridge the chasm that had formed between him and Maya. The soft glow of the lamp cast long shadows, mirroring the dark thoughts swirling in his mind. He could still hear the echoes of their last argument, the biting words, the hurtful accusations that had cut deeper than either of them cared to admit. Every time he thought about it, a knot of fear twisted tighter in his stomach. Would she even want to hear him out? What if this only drove her further away? The questions loomed large, hanging heavy in the air around him. With each passing moment, his resolve was tested. He paced the room, the hardwood floor creaking beneath his footsteps. Memories of laughter shared with Maya as children, the late-night conversations, the unbreakable bond they once had flickered before his eyes, almost taunting him. Was that all they were now? Just fragments of a happier time, overshadowed by their unresolved pain? Taking a deep breath, Alex closed his eyes, trying to summon the strength he so desperately needed. He could feel the pulse of uncertainty thrumming in his veins, but beneath it lay a flicker of determination. This was about more than just an apology. It was about reclaiming a part of himself he had lost in the chaos of their fractured relationship. It was about facing his own demons and accepting the vulnerability that came with it. As he tore himself away from the past, his gaze fell on the letter, its words a lifeline. Each line represented a step towards healing, a chance to dismantle the walls that had grown between them. But could he truly bridge that gap? Could his apology resonate with Maya? Or would it be dismissed, lost amidst the jagged edges of their history? With a shaky hand, he picked up the letter, the paper crinkling slightly under his grip. "This is it," he whispered to himself, summoning a courage he didn't know he possessed. The fear still sat heavily in his gut. But there was something else, an undeniable urge to move forward, to break the cycle of silence and resentment that had clouded their lives for too long. He stood at the threshold of their shared past and an uncertain future, heart racing, thoughts colliding. The door to Maya's room was slightly ajar, a thin sliver of light spilling into the hallway. He could hear her soft music playing, an echo of their childhood soundtrack, reminding him of the connection they once shared. Taking a step closer, he hesitated, the weight of his decision pressing down on him. His heart pounded louder, a drumbeat of resolve mixed with trepidation. What if Maya rejected him? What if this moment only served to deepen the rift? The internal conflict surged within him like a tidal wave, but it was matched by an equally powerful realization. The only way to heal was to confront the pain head on. With a deep inhale, Alex straightened his shoulders and stepped forward, crossing the threshold into the unknown. The question lingered in the air like a faint whisper, a haunting echo of doubt. Would he be able to overcome the fear of vulnerability and take the first step toward reconciliation? As he knocked softly on the door, the answer awaited him, shrouded in the warmth of possibility and the chill of uncertainty. The dim light of the late afternoon filtered through the window, casting a soft glow across the cluttered table in Alex's small office. The air was thick with anticipation and trepidation as he sat hunched over, fingers poised over a blank sheet of paper. The walls seemed to close in on him, amplifying the weight of his task. He could hear the distant hum of the world outside, a world that felt achingly separate from the storm brewing within him. His heart raced as he thought of Maya, her skeptical gaze, the unspoken words that hung between them like an unresolved melody. He swallowed hard, struggling to silence the doubts that whispered in his mind. Will she even listen? Will this make things worse? The familiar churn of uncertainty tightened in his stomach, but he pushed it aside. Today, he needed to be brave. With a deep breath, Alex picked up a pen, its weight somehow both reassuring and intimidating. The first stroke felt like a leap into the unknown. He hesitated, the ink hovering above the paper. He had rehearsed this moment 1,000 times in his head. But now, faced with the reality of it, the words felt perilously inadequate. He couldn't afford to be shallow. This had to be real, profound, a true reflection of the chaos in his heart. "I'm sorry," he began, the words feeling foreign as they flowed from his hand. Each letter carried the burden of years of unspoken pain, each stroke a tentative step towards vulnerability. He paused, staring at the letters that slowly formed a message of accountability, a lifeline cast into the turbulent waters of their fractured relationship. But the sinking fear clawed at him. What if it isn't enough? He closed his eyes for a moment, remembering the last conversation with Maya, the way her anger had sparked like fire to dry leaves. The hurt in her eyes haunted him, mingled with the shadows of their shared past. A past littered with misunderstandings, missed connections, and the suffocating silence that had become their family's language. How could he encapsulate that in a mere letter? Would she even believe he meant it? As he tried to arrange his thoughts, the handwritten apology took shape. But the nagging question lingered in the air around him. Can I truly express my feelings sincerely? Or will this only deepen the rift between us? The silence of the room pressed against him, each tick of the clock resonating like a countdown to an inevitable confrontation. He was aware of the forbidden paths he must avoid. Superficial words, evasion of responsibility, procrastination. This was not just a piece of paper. It was a bridge he hoped to build, a chance to mend what had been broken. The pen felt heavier as he crafted his apologies, a tangible representation of his heartfelt intent. He wrote about his regrets and his desire for understanding, each word carefully chosen. The act of writing became cathartic, releasing the pent-up remorse that had suffocated him for so long. With every line, he felt a flicker of resolve emerging from the depths of his fear. As the final words flowed onto the page, he felt the tension inside him shift. The uncertainty that had plagued him transformed into a tentative hope. Still, he knew this was just the beginning. The real confrontation awaited him, and the thought of Maya's reaction still gnawed at him. Would she accept his apology, or would it be met with the same skepticism that had defined their recent encounters? He placed the pen down, the ink still fresh on the paper. The handwritten letter lay before him, a symbol of his vulnerability, shimmering with the possibility of healing. But as he stared at it, that singular question remained suspended in the air, heavy yet hopeful. Would this simple act of sincerity be enough to bridge the chasm that had formed between them? The living room was heavy with unspoken words, the air thick as Alex took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the shattered mirror resting against the wall. It had once been a family heirloom, its broken shards reflecting the fractured relationships contained within these walls. He could see his own image distorted, a reminder of the unresolved tensions that had plagued them for years. "Maya," he began, his voice trembling with the enormity of what he was about to say. He could feel the disquiet in the room, a tangible tension, as if the walls themselves were bracing for the impact of his words. I want to apologize for everything." "Everything?" Maya shot back, her eyes narrowing, arms crossed defensively over her chest. The skepticism etched across her face was a barrier he had feared would rise. You think an apology can just fix things? You think you can just say sorry and it all goes away? Alex swallowed hard, the taste of disappointment thick on his tongue. No, I don't think it will fix everything overnight. But I need you to know that I'm truly sorry for how I hurt you. I've carried that guilt for so long. Guilt? Maya interrupted, her voice rising with the heat of suppressed anger. You think guilt equates to understanding? You weren't there when it mattered. You shut me out, Alex. You left me to deal with it alone. Her words cut. Sharp as the shards of glass, each syllable a reminder of their shared past, tangled in pain. He sought her gaze, willing her to see beyond his apology, beyond the mere words. I know I can't change the past, but I want to start healing. I want to try. Try? Her laughter was hollow, tinged with bitterness. Trying isn't enough anymore. Words are empty when they come from someone who's just been avoiding the truth. You think an apology is all it takes? Maya's face was flushed, vulnerability dressed in anger, and for a moment, it stung. Her pain was a reflection of his own. I know it's not enough, he replied, his voice low but steady. But it's a start. I've been scared to face this, to face you. I thought if I just stayed quiet, it wouldn't hurt as much for either of us. The silence that followed was deafening, filled with an array of emotions: hurt, anger, confusion. Alex felt the ground beneath him shift, the familiar landscape of fear morphing into something uncharted. The broken mirror loomed larger in his mind, a symbol of their shattered connection. Each shard a memory that sought to cut deeper. Maya's expression softened momentarily, and for a fleeting second, he saw the sister he missed, buried beneath the layers of resentment. You don't get it, she said quietly, her voice trembling. You can't just apologize and expect me to forget everything. I don't want you to forget, he urged, desperation lacing his tone. I want us to acknowledge it, to acknowledge how much this has hurt us both. I'm here, ready to listen, ready to understand everything you've been feeling. Please, let me in. But her walls were thick, fortified by years of silence and heartache. You're asking me to trust you again, after everything. The question hung in the air, unspoken yet palpable, the weight of it pressing down like a looming storm. Could he really break through that wall of hurt? Would his apology resonate or crumble under the weight of her pain? As Alex stood there, vulnerability coursing through him, he realized that he was not just battling Maya's anger. He was confronting his own fears, the deep-seated belief that perhaps apologies were indeed a sign of weakness. But he had to believe in the power of these words, to believe in the possibility of healing, however frail that hope may be. He took another breath, grounding himself in the moment, and met her gaze with newfound determination. I'm not going anywhere. I want to face this together, even if it's hard. Alex sat in Dr. Evelyn Carter's softly lit office, the faint scent of sandalwood lingering in the air, mingling with the weight of his thoughts. He shifted uncomfortably in his chair, his fingers fidgeting with a crumpled letter he'd written but not yet sent. A handwritten apology that felt more like a shackle than a bridge to healing. The walls, adorned with calming art, felt like a stark contrast to the turmoil brewing inside him. Dr. Carter leaned forward, her gaze piercing yet compassionate. Alex, she began, her voice steady but gentle. The power of a sincere apology lies not just in the words spoken, but in their ability to break the cycle of pain that often binds families. Her words hung in the air, laden with significance, yet they seemed to amplify the internal conflict raging within him. He wanted to believe her. He wanted to embrace the idea that vulnerability could be a source of strength, But the fear of rejection by Maya loomed large, a dark cloud over his resolve. What if his apology only deepened their divide? What if it was met with scorn rather than the understanding he desperately sought? Apologies are not signs of weakness, Dr. Carter continued, sensing his hesitation. They are acts of courage, Alex. When you take responsibility, you invite the possibility of reconciliation. It's a step towards healing. Not only for the one you're apologizing to, but for yourself as well. Her words struck a chord, pulling at the threads of his discomfort, unraveling the tightly knit fabric of doubt. He thought of the broken mirror in his grandmother's living room, a reflection of their family, fractured and distorted. Each shard had its own story, its own pain, and they all needed to be acknowledged. But what if it doesn't change anything? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper, laden with frustration. What if it only makes things worse? Dr. Carter nodded thoughtfully, her eyes unwavering. That fear is valid, but consider this. The act of apologizing acknowledges the hurt and opens the door to dialogue. It's a recognition that you are part of a larger story, your family's story. Ignoring the past only deepens the wounds. As she spoke, Alex felt the weight of his unsent letter in his pocket, pressing against him like a reminder of uncharted waters he was yet to navigate. Could understanding the psychological value of apology bolster his resolve? Could it provide the courage he needed to face Maya's potential backlash? The question lingered in his mind, a flickering candle in a dark room. What if it's too late? He murmured, almost to himself. Dr. Carter's gaze softened. It's never too late to offer an olive branch, to extend a hand in vulnerability. Remember, healing is a process, a journey taken one step at a time. Your acknowledgement could be the catalyst for change. Alex's heart raced as he contemplated her words. He envisioned Maya's skeptical expression, her guarded stance, the distance that had grown between them like an insurmountable chasm. Yet, in that moment, a flicker of hope ignited within him. Perhaps the path to mending those fractured ties began with him. His courage to step forward, to acknowledge not just his own pain, but hers as well. The room felt charged with possibility as Dr. Carter's voice echoed in his mind. It's about accountability, Alex. It's about recognizing that while the past cannot be changed, your actions today can create a ripple effect for tomorrow. He clutched the letter tightly, the ink still fresh, yet the sentiment heavy with uncertainty. As the shadows of doubt danced around him, one truth began to emerge. Healing required facing the unknown, embracing vulnerability, and risking the chance of rejection. Could he summon the strength to take that first step? Could he transform his fear into a bridge toward healing? The air was thick with unspoken potential, and as he looked up, searching for the path ahead, he felt the weight of his decision pressing down, both terrifying and liberating. The dim light of the living room cast soft shadows across the walls, where family photos hung like silent witnesses to years of joy and pain. Alex sat on the edge of the worn couch, his fingers fidgeting with a handwritten letter. He had spent countless nights wrestling with its words, trying to find the courage to bridge the chasm between them. The weight of his unspoken apology hung heavy in the air, but Maya's skeptical gaze felt like a barrier he couldn't breach. Why now, Alex? Maya's voice sliced through the silence, laced with resentment. What makes you think an apology will change anything? Her words stung, igniting the familiar sparks of anger and hurt. He had expected resistance, yet the rawness in her tone pierced deeper than he anticipated. He could see the layers of hurt etched into her features, The years of silence, the anger festering beneath the surface like an unhealed wound. I thought maybe we could talk," Alex replied, his voice barely above a whisper, yet heavy with the weight of years of avoidance. Maya crossed her arms, her expression a mixture of anger and hurt. "Talk? Or just more excuses? You think I'm going to just let go of everything you've done because you decide to show up now?" The flicker of hope within him dimmed slightly, but he pressed on, determined. "No, I don't think it will magically fix everything. But it's a start. We can't keep avoiding each other, pretending we're not broken." He gestured toward the family photo, the image of unity now a painful reminder of their distance. The silence stretched, thick and heavy, wrapped in the weight of unresolved emotions. Alex's breath caught as he realized this moment could either break them further or, perhaps, offer a glimmer of hope. He took a step closer, placing a hand on the edge of the counter, using it as an anchor. "I'm sorry, Maya. For everything. For not being there when you needed me. For not reaching out. I want to be better. I want us to be better." The air thickened with tension, and he watched as Maya's expression shifted, the walls she had built beginning to crack. It's hard to believe you mean it," she whispered, her voice barely above a murmur. "How do I know this isn't just another empty promise?" Alex took a deep breath, the weight of her words heavy in his chest. "I guess you'll have to take a leap of faith, just like I am. We can't keep living in the shadows of our past. We need to talk, really talk, about everything." Maya hesitated, her defenses wavering, and for the first time, Alex felt a glimmer of warmth between them. "Okay," she finally said, her voice steadier. "Let's try. But it won't be easy." As they stood there, the old photos still nestled against the wall, they both knew the journey ahead would be fraught with challenges. Yet, in that moment, the air felt charged with possibility. The question lingered, unspoken but palpable. Could they preserve this fragile sprout of trust and nurture it into something resilient, rooted in forgiveness and understanding? Only time would tell. Alex stood in the dim light of the family living room, a place heavy with the echoes of past laughter and unresolved tension. The worn armchair in the corner, where his grandmother Ruth often sat, served as a silent witness to the fractures that marred their family history. An old family photo hung crookedly on the wall, capturing a moment of joy that felt like a distant memory. It was a picture of all of them. Happy smiles, carefree laughter, a stark contrast to the reality that now surrounded him. The air was thick with unspoken words, each breath a reminder of the conflicts that lay buried beneath the surface. Alex's heart raced as he thought of Maya, his sibling, who had expressed doubt and skepticism about the very idea of apology. He felt the weight of his own hesitation, a palpable fear of rejection looming over him like a dark cloud. Would his words, even if sincere, be met with resistance? Would they deepen the wounds rather than heal them? In his trembling hands, he clutched a stack of handwritten letters, the apologies he had penned down so many times, yet never had the courage to share. Each stroke of his pen had been a struggle, a battle against the voice that whispered, "Apologies are a sign of weakness." But what if instead they were a necessary bridge to healing? A flicker of hope ignited within him. Perhaps vulnerability could be a strength, a catalyst for change. He glanced at the family photo again, the joy it captured a haunting reminder of everything they had lost. How did we get here? He wondered, his mind racing through the years of silence and resentment. The sound of a door creaking open pulled him from his thoughts. And there was Maya, her expression a blend of skepticism and guardedness. "Alex," she began, her voice steady but laced with tension. "What do you want?" He swallowed hard, the lump in his throat almost unbearable. "I want to talk about everything. About us." The words felt heavy but necessary. He stepped forward, feeling the electric charge of their unresolved conflict crackling in the space between them. Maya crossed her arms, a defensive barrier between them. "You think just saying I'm sorry will fix things?" The question hung heavy in the air, the tension palpable. Alex's heart pounded as he searched for the right words, grappling with the fear that his apology might only serve to deepen her anger. "I know it's not that simple, but I need you to understand. I'm sorry for the pain I caused. I want to own my part in this." Her eyes narrowed, skepticism flashing across her face. "And what if I don't want to hear it?" He felt the ground beneath him shift, vulnerability threatening to swallow him whole. But in that moment, he remembered his grandmother's stories, the weight of their family history, the pain of silence. "If I don't try, I risk losing you completely. We risk losing everything." He gestured toward the family photo, the image of unity now a painful reminder of their distance. The silence stretched, thick and heavy, wrapped in the weight of unresolved emotions. Alex's breath caught as he realized this moment could either break them further or, perhaps, offer a glimmer of hope. He took a step closer, placing a hand on the edge of the counter, using it as an anchor. "I'm sorry, Maya, for everything. For not being there when you needed me. For not reaching out. I want to be better. I want us to be better." The air thickened with tension, and he watched as Maya's expression shifted, the walls she had built beginning to crack.